This is BenQ's X300G portable gaming projector, and this is the reason why I've been getting almost no work done for the past 2 weeks since I've been using it. It is awesome. But is it worth it for you personally to buy? And maybe more importantly for viewers of the channel, does it work well with the Steam Deck? We're going to answer those questions and more, but first, quick disclosure, BenQ did send over this projector for review, but they have no control over what I say in the video. These are only going to be my thoughts and my opinions. All right, let's get started. Starting with the setup process. The setup process for this projector, I've set up quite a few projectors in the past for this YouTube channel, and I've kind of been on a projector kick for the last few years. And most of the time my experience in setting up projectors is that it's not that fun. It's pretty fiddly. You end up having to bump things and make little tiny adjustments, and it's going to be off by an inch or a degree this way or that. And it's kind of fiddly and annoying if you're particular about corners and straight lines and everything, which I very much am. This projector was different. I don't know exactly how they've made it so good, but BenQ made it such that all I did was plug in the projector and press the power button, and it automatically set the zoom level, the focus level was perfect, it auto keystoned, it got the rotation right, it did all of those things automatically without me touching a single thing. And that might not sound impressive to you if you don't have projectors or you haven't set them up in the past, but for anybody that has set up projectors in the past, that is really, really cool. And the reason that that matters so much with this projector, more so than any other projector, is this is a portable projector, meaning you're supposed to be able to take it with you on the go if you wanted to bring it to a hotel room or a friend's house or whatever you wanted to do with it. It's portable, and if every time you took it somewhere you had to adjust everything and get it set up exactly perfect, that would be a hassle and probably you wouldn't want to take it with you. But it automatically does such a good job that I feel great taking it with me, and I know I'm not gonna have to fiddle with it when I get places. So hats off to BenQ on that one.
And speaking of being easy to move around, I couldn't sleep last night and I had the idea of using the projector to play some video games in bed. And all I had to do was move the projector to the foot of my bed and it just automatically set itself up. And the results were amazing. This is for sure my new favorite way to use this setup because you can play games in bed while you're laying down, and then the ergonomics are you're just staring at the ceiling, which is really nice.
Next, moving on to the specs. For resolution, it can go up to 4K 60 on the resolution, which is awesome, but you're probably not going to be pushing 4K with the Steam Deck. It is nice if you want to watch Netflix or YouTube, which, by the way, it does have Android TV built in. You can stream your Netflix or stream from your phone to the projector and watch YouTube in 4K or whatever you want to do. But if you're going to be playing games off your Steam Deck, you're not going to be playing in 4K. You're probably going to be playing in 720p, maybe upscaled to 1080p, and if you do play at 1080p, you can get up to 240 hertz, which, let me tell you, when you're playing an indie game like Dead Cells or Hades or something that's kind of fast and twitchy but not very graphically demanding, man, this looks good. And at that 1080p 240 hertz, this projector has a 4 millisecond response time, which feels really good. So as far as gaming goes, ooh, it is quite nice. And another feature that pairs so nicely with the Steam Deck is that this projector has USB Type-C with power delivery. Now, when I told them, hey, I want to use this projector with the Steam Deck and I'm going to use it with the Type-C port, they were like, ooh, we don't know if it'll supply enough power. Maybe you shouldn't do it. And I was like, well, I'm going to test it for myself. So I tested it for myself, and with some not super scientific testing, it looks like this USB Type-C port will put out about 17.5 watts of power at peak, at least according to my testing. And as we know, the Steam Deck comes with a 45 watt power brick. So you might be thinking, oh no, 17.5 watts, that's not gonna be nearly enough to power the Steam Deck. But it actually kind of is. Let me hash this out for you a little bit. So the Steam Deck OLED at full tilt, if it's running something like Elden Ring, which I'm doing right now, and you have uncapped frame rate and everything is unlocked and it's using as much power as it can use, the OLED can burn between 22 and 23 watts of power. And for the LCD, it's something more like 25 to 26 watts of power. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's more than 17.5, so it's going to drain the battery. And that is true, it will drain the battery. But one thing we haven't taken into account is that when you have the Steam Deck plugged into the projector, that turns the Steam Deck's internal screen off, which means it's saving some juice right there. So in my testing, the Steam Deck OLED, when plugged into the projector, and in the absolute worst case scenario, meaning it's running the hardest to run AAA game, something like an Elden Ring, it's burning through about 20 watts, which means you have a drain rate of about 2 watts, and that means you have more than enough battery life to play your Steam Deck all day and all night. You're not going to run out of power. Will the battery battery drain? Yeah, the battery will drain. It'll drain at, depending on the game, a few percent an hour, or if it's an indie game, it's gonna charge at a few percent an hour, or basically stay the same. But what I'm trying to say here is while that 17.5 watts isn't enough to charge while you're playing, it is enough to make it so that your Steam Deck probably won't die while you're playing it while it's plugged up to the projector. And that is really convenient because that just means it's one less thing. You don't have to carry a dock with you if you want to plug into the projector. You can just plug in with a Type-C port and you grab your Bluetooth controller and you are off to the races playing whatever game you want to play. And if you were really worried about running out of battery, you can always lower the TDP on the Steam Deck so that it isn't burning more than 17.5 watts, and then you're not draining any power at all. I do want to include a pretty big caveat here, which is that the Steam Deck is relatively power efficient if you're going to use something like the ROG Ally X or the Lenovo Legion Go or something like that that can draw up to quite a bit more power, like those will draw 30 watts sustained, then you are going to be draining quite a lot faster than on the Steam Deck. And on the flip side of that, if you had something that uses less power like a Nintendo Switch, you can plug it in and it will charge the battery while you're playing it with no issues at all. A few more tech specs just for the nerds like me who want to know. This projector has 2000 ANSI lumens and a coverage of 84% of the DCI-P color space, which for a projector is quite good. It also has dual 8-watt speakers, which sounds surprisingly good. I have a relatively small living room and it easily fills up the space. I've never had to put them on full volume. And it also has totally solid bass, although don't expect anything that a standalone subwoofer would provide. All right, so all that out of the way, how does it actually feel to play it? So what I did is I brought in my gaming PC because I wanted to test out this 4K resolution. I wanted to see what it'll look like on a projector. And I booted up Helldivers. And let me tell you, Helldivers is one of my favorite games right now just because it's so cinematic while you're playing. It's also very silly and very fun, but it is just a beautiful game to watch. And I am telling you, playing Helldivers at 4K ultra settings on a screen the size of my living room wall, it is such a cool experience. And it's just one of those things where you can watch this video on your phone or laptop and you can think, oh, that looks really cool. But when you see it in person, the scale comes across, and the scale of a projector just doesn't really come across in video. So I am telling you, it looks way better in person than it does on video because it's just so hard to capture the scale. Another thing that I've been really pleasantly surprised by is just how quiet the fan noise. I've had the projector running for a bit over an hour now in the background, and so it is totally thermally soaked. And while I can hear the fan, it's about 3 feet away from me, I can only barely hear it. And I'm gonna put the mic right up to it so that you guys can hear. We'll see how this works. But regardless, the fan is really quiet, and as soon as you have any background noise, if you're playing a game or whatever it is you're doing, you can't hear the fan at all, and I can't say that about other projectors I've had. Other projectors I've had, the fans on the projector have been louder than the speakers on them at some points, and that's just not the case with this one. And I'll be totally honest with you, if you're trying to play fast-paced, twitchy games where you need to see the whole screen in view, something like a Counter-Strike, I actually think a projector might be a disadvantage because you have to turn your head to see the left and the right side. And so it's really hard to just like see a movement and then be able to aim at it because it's just too big. But that being said, when you're playing cinematic games like Red Dead Redemption, Helldivers, Dragon's Dogma, Batman Arkham Knight, anything like that where it's more cinematic and the visual storytelling is an important part of the game, that's where the projector really shines. It's just so immersive to have a whole wall in your living room all of a sudden become a screen. It's hard to come across on camera, but it does look really, really good. Oh, and one of my favorite uses for the projector is actually for split screen gaming, because usually if you split screen something like a 55-inch TV, everyone gets a relatively small screen to play their game on if you're playing like Mario Kart and then it's split 4 ways. But with a projector, if you split up a 120 or 100-inch screen, it still ends up being like a 55-inch screen for everyone in the group. Everyone gets their own TV's worth. And that makes such a big difference when you're playing games where the screen real estate matters, but everyone needs their own screen. So I've actually been playing a good amount of Nazi Zombies with my buddies on it with split screen just because it looks so good and you can see so clearly. Oh, and I want to touch on brightness real quick because when it comes to projectors, I have had some problems with projectors not getting bright enough in the past. This projector gets incredibly bright. Right now, it may not look like it, but I have a giant softbox right here that's blasting light, and at least to my eyes, I'm not sure how it'll show up on camera, but it is pretty easy to see what's going on, and that's a dark or a relatively dark playing environment. It looks like it's nighttime at the Erd Tree, And while yes, if you have a bunch of windows and a bunch of daylight streaming in, it is gonna make it harder to see the projector. But I've found even though my living room is relatively bright, I'm still able to see the projector no problem. And it also has a mode called bright mode where it will bump up the brightness to try to help out if you're in a bright room. And when I am in a bright room, I use that and I've had no problems being able to see it. Oh, and I also love how compact it is. It's just this little cube that you could fit in a backpack, no problem. And so if you threw your Steam Deck, the projector, a few controllers in a backpack, you can carry that with you to a friend's house and it's not gonna be an issue. And then you have everything you need to play really good split screen gaming on the go with you, which that just hasn't happened for me before. So if you're looking for new ways to enjoy your Steam Deck on the go, this is definitely an extravagant one. It's pretty expensive. That being said, it has made me enjoy my Steam Deck quite a bit more, especially when I have people over or I'm going somewhere to play my Steam Deck with other people. Then it really has made gaming with friends a more enjoyable experience, and that's something that's valuable to me. So is it valuable to you? I don't know. You got to make that decision for yourself. But I have been absolutely loving this projector, and I have had an absolute blast nuking the hell out of bugs on this thing. It's been really fun. All right, with that being said, if you have any questions about the projector or about me, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll try to get to them. Thanks to BenQ for sponsoring this video by sending me the projector, and thanks for watching. Peace.